The health of our soil is inextricably linked to our health. Yet world pesticide use has doubled since 1990 and even more so in the US. But today, I'm going to have a discussion with Carla Heiser from Triada World, which is addressing these issues from soil to kitchen. And we're going to hear about how they are applying this to the health outcomes of individuals with autism. I'm Norma Flood, and I'm an integrative and functional nutritionist. And welcome to Go With Your Gut. Hello, Carla. Welcome. Love to hear how you're doing. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling in today from Southeast in Tampa.
In Tampa. And what are you doing in Tampa today?
I'm just visiting. I've got some work to do, and I can move and get it done and do what I need to do personally as well.
Yes. Escape because you are from Chicago, and there is probably more than a foot of snow there. I have family in the Midwest, so I'm hearing all the stories. So glad you're getting some sunshine. I'm here in San Diego, and I'm enjoying that as well, not taking that for granted. So glad you're taking the time to talk with me today. I'm so excited for listeners to hear about you. And that's why I really want to start with an introduction about your background. And I know you're a nutritional specialist and research scientist with a master's degree in nutrition and emphasis in biochemistry, an A4M diplomat and fellow. You're board certified in anti-aging and regenerative medicine. Carla also specializes in integrative advanced medical nutrition strategies to optimize health outcomes and has over 30 years of clinical experience. And for nearly 24 years, Carla has been president and CEO of Precise Health Solutions, and more recently, Triada World, a 501c3 nonprofit for which she serves as principal investigator and acting executive director. And it's a very, I would say, rich history and really sets the stage for what you're doing today. And that leads me to my opening question with you is, what led you to Triada World and doing what you do today?
Well, thank you for that introduction. You really kept it succinct. I probably can say all of those things that happened were because of where we started. My professional career started in academia, so it was very science-driven. And despite leaving the university setting and moving into community, I carried that science driving with me. So in my clinical practice and intervening, we caught data and we interacted with physicians and other healthcare providers, with people. We followed science and we got really good results. The doctors called us, and I cooperated with pharmacists and nurse practitioners and nurses. What are you guys doing? Because whatever it is, keep it up. So we really took that seriously. And there were a couple of other remarkable things that got us access to data. And then there's COVID. So with COVID, everybody was kind of paused, and we know people, even though we stepped into community from academia, we're also in a circle of people that stay friends, so we maintained our relationships, and phone calls got made. Hey, what are you doing? I know things are going a little slower right now, so instead of sitting home and watching TV or writing letters, are you up for doing something that would make a difference? We're considering a project that we can get started, and therefore that is the birth of the nonprofit. So what can we do to make a difference to transform food to health?
Right. And, it's good. We can take advantage of those downtimes. And often that's when we can receive inspiration and creativity and think outside of the box. So what when I found your information on Triada World, I was very excited to learn about your 4 pillars or 4 principles that Triada kind of is based on. And I don't know if you'd want to start with that 4th pillar with the Pearl study or whatever order makes sense to you, because every pillar is exactly what we need to hear today. So if you could just give me a rundown of those. I know it's a lot.
Well, so I called my academic friends and we started writing grants because that's what we've done for a living, and that would be a good place regarding, targeting a topic, an issue that we want to be mindful from. And when you go into that kind of process, it is work, but then you get critique and feedback, and that's really invaluable. Funded or not, you're developing. So I guess I would start with TAHI, and that's Transformational Agriculture Health Initiative. That one gets birthed because we were going from soil to health. We were definitely seeing how food before medicine and how food gets cultivated and grown and then brought to the table, and what kind of an impact that would have on health. Well, we didn't get funded for that study, but the lesson was valuable. Good work, great job. You don't have an agronomist. You don't have farming systems in your silo for, no pun intended, right? Anyway, so it's COVID. So I made a few phone calls, friends calling friends and making introductions. And I was introduced to an agronomist consultant in Iowa. And we made arrangements, and I drove to Iowa to meet him. His name is Dr. Michael McNeil. And Dr. McNeil is the founding chairman of the charity as we continued to get to know each other. So in this design, I think that brings us to a structure of farming, food, and health. And we didn't want to do one without the other.
Right, because I think in our culture, just the way food is grown, the majority of food, when you're trying to start from the soil, it's almost like a lot of times you're having to find the minority out there that are, really producing foods without all the chemicals, correct? So then you made this connection.
It's true. And we have to kind of take a step aside. If we take a look at it, if we go to any other country, global, what's their food culture? You go to Spain, you know what Spanish food is about. Ireland, Italy, France, Asia, if you would. The food culture in America is American food, like all of the above, what I just said. Fast food, quick food. How can I get this done as soon as possible? Because I have so many other things to do. So our food and lifestyle culture is or possibly lack thereof, is very different than other places in the world, right?
Right,
So,
when over half of what kids eat is ultra-processed food. It's already been shown.
and what is the impact of that? So we all personally on the initial team and on how the team has been growing and strengthening, none of us believe that every, other person on the planet has a gluten reaction. It's not a negative, but it's just like, why is this happening here? And then we all see it, our clients, our relatives, our family, friends. They go to Italy and they eat pizza and they don't have a stomach ache, so what's going on? So we just kind of took the time with the initial bringing together of Triada and the nonprofit to get to know each other and then to formally launch. So what we did was we wrote a proposal and we submitted it to industry. So in that design, this is investigator initiated. This was not the industry's idea. This was ours. And we went to an international meeting in Vegas that was A4M in 2023. And we met the chief science officers of the lab and diagnostic companies. And we put our proposal in front of them. And we were meeting them in person to see what their feedback was, because they were all going to be there. So we did that. And their feedback at the time was, we like your proposal. And we've noticed that you didn't include a salary benefit, in your budget justification. And they asked why. And our answer was because they already had their budgets for 26 already handled. So What we were interested in was support us with the lab and diagnostics. We need the data, right? And partner with us. You're an MD, PhD, you have a science division in your corporation. If we get what we're asking for, we're going to have a lot of data. So this was with regard to Pearl, the personalized evaluation, assessment, real food, lifestyle for autism.
So now you're going into another pillar, correct? The Pearl study.
So second pillar, and I put it second because we are, I am explaining the Pearl study. We did pick autism because it's a headliner right now. It's being paid strong attention to. And if we can uncover what's going on for those participants, or at least give us a trend, then we can search it and replace it and do it for ADD or PCOS or other diagnostics. These are humans, so we wanted to see what was happening to the human that was 9 to 30 years old, autism. So they wound up sponsoring us to provide the testing. So now we're going to have a lot of data. And then they also agreed to partner with us scientifically and academically. We wanted the ability to talk to them and understand the results that we're getting and how to interpret them, and then how to apply them to our protocol or processes and going forward.
Yes. And if I could mention the significance of this, doing a study looking at the effect of nutrition on autism is so it's so important. When today we have, looking up statistics, today it's 1 in 31 U.S. children are diagnosed with autism. And we look at the year 2000 and it was 1 in 150. And what the mainstream wants to say, oh, we just have better testing and, oh, it's just more inclusive. But there's more going on here, especially even when we look at just a few years ago. I think it was in 2020, it was 1 in 36. So it's already risen by 5 people in the last 5 years. So we're rising 1 person a year almost, more than that, exponentially. And I thought to myself, at the same time, the rates of cancer are increasing in younger adults every year. And so with all of these different things that are affecting mind and body, and with autism being something that's affecting youth, I really consider them a canary in the coal mine, that what we find, how these systems are affecting those that are more sensitive, they're just raising a flag to say, hey, this may not affect you as quickly, but it can have an impact over time.
Got that.
Yeah.
And we've also heard things like it depends on, where you're coming from and what your point of view and what your opinion is. But in addition, the families and the people that are impacted by this, they have strong feedback for us to all consider. And we need to listen to the voice of those families, those caretakers like that. But again, if you're a farmer, the possibility is you're talking about glyphosate. And if you're a mom, you could be talking about vaccines to food reactions to chemicals and contaminants. So I think what you're going to understand about Pearl is that because of the convergence and bringing these areas together and science as a driver, and with the graciousness of the lab and diagnostic companies, we're now continuing to use science to drive what we're talking about. So that was really important to us. And we also knew that we needed academia. So in part of my resume, I was at Indiana University, Purdue University, and I maintained those relationships. And I called Purdue. They have a strong, food and nutrition science department. And I do have an agreement with them. And we were able to cooperate to get this project approved, Investigational Review Board, IRB approval, and then to bring this convergent team, together to initiate this. It's a pilot study, a pilot feasibility study. That means, can we pull this off, and what kind of an impact is it having on the participants? So,
Yes, to take that a step further for everyone to understand, like a feasibility study is that which you first do something on a small scale and show that this is significant so that you can then hopefully find funding to do it on a larger scale. Um, and you've completed that feasibility study.
We did. We submitted it. We got it approved. We started it in August, and we were finished with data capture in December. So it was pretty, streamlined and purposeful for the year of 2024. And then this year of 25 has been us continuing to cooperate as a team. Again, agronomists, farming scientists, food and nutrition scientists, medical doctors, and advanced, healthcare practitioners like that. So that's a big deal because communicating across, areas of focus from community to university, university to industry, it's a challenge or a chore, but we are pulling it off. And I think what we did was regarded each other, and we've come together in Zoom meetings and conversations, and we're working out how to report this and how to deliver what's next.
Right. So these other two pillars, if you could describe those, if I missed that in the conversation, what were the third and the fourth pillar of Triada World that kind of supports even the Pearl study, I would say?
We are going to do an elevated health focus. That would be what's next. Basically, I think it's important to let you know and to include here is as the data is coming through for Pearl autism, there's the driver. Like when I sat down, when I went to go meet the agronomy scientist, right? I'm like, you guys, we have severe mycotoxin levels in these average age 15-year-olds, right? Like that, right? And we need your help. When I put science in front of them, will you join us? Can we cooperate? And like, it was just universally, yes, yes, yes. So that's how the team gets built. We use the science from the Pearl autism to help us. And now what we want to do is we want to be able to elevate health by using this same protocol. But now we still have to strengthen. I still have to go from 36 to 100. So I still need to include a control group. I need to compare it from autism to not autism. So that's our next proposal that's already been submitted. And we are looking to get grant and foundation funding. But we're also American. We also know that if you really want something, sometimes you just have to get it started and start fund and developing and raising yourself, like that. So we're working on being creative with our business and philanthropic associates like that. So the next step will be to get the funding to make it stronger, from feasibility to a stronger level. And that's what we're working on. But we'll use that as the basis for Elevate Health. And then in that way, we have things planned for 2026, which would then include things from metabolic disruption or endocrine disruption, cancer, like what's underneath cancer, in that way. And so that's where we're going. And instead of it being like a Carla and team, the different partners that I'm working with, it would be the us version. It would be agronomy is infusing and medical doctors are infusing, and how we can get to work it out together like that. So let's Q1 of 26.
Well, even in carrying out your study, and again, that was a 12-week study, another pillar I noticed that you were addressing, because I think it's important to address, is it was called Nourish on Wheels. And was this more of like improving accessibility?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Regardless of income, because I think that is one of the greatest challenges in our culture is, if we want clean food or organic food, it tends to be those that can afford it or they have access to it. Some people don't even have access. Yet, as you state, it's everyone's right to have access to these clean foods.
And that is another one, and we do want to take a look at that. Now, the interesting thing is Illinois is adjacent to Iowa, and Iowa is a center of the United States, and it's a very big farming, state. So supply distribution is a big deal. Like, how do we get clean food, organic food to the surrounding, states and to like a community in need versus easy access? And you're right. It is more expensive to buy organic food in America. But if American people and a supply distribution, like if the demand for it was higher, there's a possibility that organic food would cost less than conventional food. It won't stay on the shelf if you're not buying it, So in this design,
Absolutely.
and so maybe that formulation is going to get changed. But in the meantime, it's how do you do it? And so what we did for the Pearl study is we didn't follow a diet. We actually took what we have available. And I think this is an important part of our conversation, Norma, because we debated this for a little bit of time, right? But we're taxpayers, and there is United States Department of Agriculture, and they are publishing My Plate. We've paid for it in our taxes. So why don't we use what they have was the question. And in science, you have to make one change. So here was our one change. USDA organic My Plate. That was one thing that we did. And as we talked and interacted, we didn't do a don't do strategy. We included a here's how you can do this. And then we introduced them to Costco, right? And we kind of guided them through the aisles. And how can I make this affordable and accessible? They were spending money on already prepared food. So like the idea of buying individual ingredients and having them be fresh, frozen, organic, it does cost less when you make your own dinner and when you stay home. So we have data. We got over an 80% adherence to organic eating, but it was eating style. It was strategic. A few words: eat clean, drink clean, fiber matters. Let us show you how. We kind of tried to make it that it was less strict and less overwhelming. So, and then we hosted Zoom meetings and a private Facebook setting, and they helped each other. Look what I found when I was in the market today, things like that. So, and then classrooms started helping and grandparents started helping. It took some talking into, but we have really nice stories about how the community came together. And we thought that was significant with making that.
You made that message practical, because I think when you start out with a diet, then they're just going to look at that as, this is my 12-week diet. I can't wait to be done with this diet, instead of really looking at, a higher view, a broader view of what's most important, and keeping it simple and practical for busy families and in ways that they can eat together and apply it to everyone. And just to be clear, My Plate is more of a visual, which I prefer much more than the food guide pyramid, the old school food guide pyramid. Don't let me get started there. Where you have half of your plate is fruits and vegetables, you have a quarter of your plate might be a grain, a quarter protein, and then you have a little circle for fats, but you have a way to balance different types of foods. But I think that's the key thing, is the quality of the food, not getting caught up in calories or measuring, but the quality of what you're eating is what matters most. And that is a great message that you're getting across. So when you had these families following this diet for 12 weeks, what did you find in your study? Are there things that you want to share that you especially saw the difference, or differences in their labs that were a bit shocking?
Gotcha, yeah. Well, first part of your question, strategic. They ate more vegetables. Green beans, their kids like them. Here's what we did. We took the chemical out of their green bean, like that, and we gave them chemical-free or less chemical green bean. same thing, green bean, strawberries in conventional farming, they do get soaked in these chemical farming, insecticide, pesticide kind of thing. So we did with Mosaic Diagnostics, tox burden assays. So there were multiple toxins per participant. And we saw that changing. So from 0 to 12 weeks later, mycotoxins, like I said, that has to do with chemicals that are produced from fungus. And these levels were really high, right? And when we were watching this coming through, this was open, like everybody was aware of the testing that we were achieving. I believe that there were 31 out of 36 participants that had severely high levels of ochratoxin A. And that is carcinogenic. That's not good. Not necessarily the farming system. So one is they're getting sprayed with chemical contaminants. And then two, they're getting harvested and they're getting stored. And then the environment of which some of these products, farming products, are getting stored, moist environment, fungus, chemical. And so, it's not like a criticism. It's like, we have a problem and how can we fix this? Like, how can we be part of a solution? Because it takes something to feed 340 million people, like that.
Right.
It's also awareness, things like that. So I think those results were remarkable. There were metabolic blood work that we did, that we saw changes in iron and nutrient status. We saw changes in cholesterol, like young people showing up with higher levels of cholesterol and other cardiometabolic, indicators that if we take care of it now, maybe they're not going to have cardiometabolic disorder later on in their life kind of thing. So that was valuable to watch that happen and see that result.
Yes, we don't realize that a lot of these effects of food do start at a very young age, and it's on scene. We don't get a lot of these labs tested in kids, mycotoxins, other toxins, or cholesterol. So we don't know what we don't know. And yes, you make a good point that there is this struggle with mass production and having to stack, especially wheat and oats. And that's why, because of this fear or concern, I should say, of mold growth, they spray it with glyphosate. And that's why all of our wheat and oats are really high in glyphosate, because they're spraying them. So yet we don't want mold. So how can we do things completely differently? Because neither option is working well for us. And those are things we'll need to assess in our world as well. Because
an American problem. They're reporting that same kind of data, from the Italian. There's an Italian study, and just like walking through the science circles. So how can we get together and cooperate and help each other? In this kind of a design. And by the way, insecticide, pesticide isn't going to kill a chemical that's a mycotoxin, in that way. So it's also being educated in it and being understanding of what the problem statements are. And there was a request for proposals that have come through Health and Human Services, and it was major, $50 million to continue to catch data. Look at the examples that I just gave you. Science is the driver. It's like money talks, this is science talking. So let's just follow the facts. And then you have so many people that are so intelligent. Once you have it in front of you, what do we do about it and how do we handle it? But it's going to take more than the scientists. It's going to take community and community's voice and community participating. I think I really like the idea of when grandma got involved, like people listen to grandma, for the record.
yes,
It's kind of fun. Anyway.
The one with wisdom.
But I would be remiss if I didn't say this. We also did nutrigenomic testing. We did it with a functional genomic analysis with Bob Miller. And again, he personally paid for it because he wanted that testing to be included. Now, we already know, they've already identified the genetics of autism. But what was remarkable in what Miller provided is so many genes were altered that have the ability to help with anti-inflammation, antioxidation, detoxification. So many genes were altered, and guess what? Their gene expression could be changed. How do you change that? How do you make them help you more? You eat better, you hydrate, you lifestyle better. So there's so much in it that if we do it the right way, you don't have to express with a bloated, inflamed stomach, and things like that. We could cooperate and improve the health outcomes.
Right. And that is the study of epigenetics, that we're born with certain genes, but we have the ability to inform our genes in the way they function, through the way we eat, through providing better nutrients and supporting that function better. And then we already know that when we support the microbiome, that a lot of our gut bacteria also have the ability to influence our genetic expression. So it just can get hit from so many sides. And when we're not eating well, it's like what Ben Lynch would say, he calls it dirty genes, right? When you're just taking in all these toxins and making it harder and harder for your body to function well. And just to add, if I could quickly, the research shows that from I have to look at my notes, but 1996 to 2016, the NIH reported the use of Roundup increased by 15-fold. And even though glyphosate is a known neurotoxin, causes DNA damage, harms the microbiome, a lot of these studies are done, in a petri dish or on a rat or thing. And that's why your study is so important, is because we're actually now seeing this in humans. Like, look at their blood values, look at how it's affecting their behavior or other outcomes. This is really happening.
Truth. Well, and we're learning, right? So our glyphosate data is messy like that. So some of them are high and some of them are low. Some in the beginning were low and were high at the end. So therefore, what did I do? I'm like, okay, I called the doctors. I called the scientists. I'm like, what's going on here? And we think, and this is with Health Research Institute, Dr. John Fagan, with Maharishi International University in Southern Iowa. He has a lab, and he is testing the metabolites of glyphosate, the metabolites of insecticide pesticides. So what we're going to see now, we'll add it into the next study, and we'll make up for this, right? But glyphosate AMPA, as the glyphosate's going into your body, the possibility of some gets absorbed and some gets, eliminated right away. We should be able to urinate or pee it out. But along the way, it could start to get changed, or the body's trying to adjust it or adapt it. And it causes something, or creates something called glyphosate AMPA. It's harder to get the AMPA out of your body. So we're looking forward to getting that testing, right, for the next cohort, if you would, to see. But we wouldn't have known that it was messy unless we had the information in front of us, like that. So it's not, we didn't do anything wrong, but it's very interesting to say, hey, we have a problem, and what do you guys think about it? And to get a real life answer, so the science doesn't lie kind of thing. So we just have
to... It just leads us down a deeper path.
100%.
Why is this happening? It's not making sense. And then it's all about digging deeper to find out the why. It's just amazing. So another thing, I want to step back, because sometimes I don't think we give it enough attention, how, the quality of soil is a reflection of the health of our gut and the health of the planet, it's all connected. And that's what fascinates me about your study, is that you're not just having people, they're going to go grocery shopping, but you're going beyond that in your study. You're working with farmers. You're like, how can we produce food that is healthy without these pesticides, make it accessible, and I think many people might have heard of Kiss the Ground. That's all about regenerative farming, which is exactly what you're doing. And what I love in their message is, we think, oh, how are farmers going to do it? They have to do mass production, but they're struggling. They're struggling financially, most farmers in the US. And when they turn to regenerative farming, when they transition to this method of farming, they actually make more money themselves. They're more successful in farming. They can be smaller scale, and maybe there's more of these farms. So like you said, there's less mass production. You almost have more or thousands of these micro regenerative farms that are feeding communities, right? So we're not relying on this mass storage of food. The farmer is happier, the people are happier, our guts are happier, and there's less gasoline transferring this food all over the place. Like, that helps the climate. And regenerative farming is all about, it can take dead soil and renourish it to healthy soil, and that absorbs carbon from the air. So it's just, it comes around full circle. It benefits everyone. And that's just what's so exciting about what you're doing as part of your study.
Well, I love that. And I love hearing that the both of us have this food and nutrition background. So it's really nice talking to you like that. So, and that's exactly what I mean when we went to the agronomist, Dr. Alan Williams, and Understanding Ag. They're part of our team. He's the guy that I sat online and waited for and showed him our okra toxin data and said, we need your help. And what we're going to do next is we're going to show how agriculture system is related to human health. So what does that mean? And this is particularly important for what you're saying right now. We believe that soil is comparable to gut. So the idea of what's going on in the soil to the plant, to the animal, to the human, and the genomics of those microbes in the soil or the chemicals binding nutrients in the soil is going to impact food quality, period. I just learned this recently, so I kind of just want to share it. But with glyphosate is targeted, and it is something that is being really seriously looked at. I believe it chelates or binds to 18 elements. So if glyphosate binds to magnesium, it looks like magnesium's there, but it's not really available. Some of the other insecticide pesticides, because maybe they need to. It's not ideal. We didn't have that 2,000 years ago, but they only bind to 1, not 18, something like that. So is there an exit plan for some of that chemical contaminant? And how do you farm smart and then succeed with increasing crop yield and the quality of food? You have better quality food. You don't eat as much. You don't need to. Should we look at calories? Or should we look at nutritional value, to the food that we're eating? I think it's more toward the latter.
Absolutely. Yes. We're so it's all about counting calories and checking weight, but it has nothing to do with that. In fact, in my practice, I tell people right in the beginning, we do not count calories. I don't believe in counting calories. I'm not going to tell you how many calories to eat. I don't work that way. I couldn't even tell you how many calories I eat every day. It changes every day. It's more about quality, balance, all of those things that matter, because that's what drives your metabolism. That's what helps your microbiome work in the right way. That is it. These are foods that our body knows how to use. When you're eating a lot of these highly processed foods with chemicals, it's like the body is inflamed, confused, not utilizing that energy the way it needs to be. And other, cultures where you're just focused on, I'll just take a bunch of supplements. It's like you said, well, if you have a lot of chemicals in your diet, they could be binding a lot of these supplements. And then if your microbiome's not healthy, that affects nutrient absorption as well, including calcium, magnesium, iron, when you have all of that inflammation. So again, it comes down to these same things. So I think in your study, I just want to ask then, in these 12 weeks, you did see a difference just in 12 weeks in their values, the labs that you saw, their blood labs. in the mycotoxins, decreasing toxins, correct?
We did see that. We still need more. We do have significant statistical measurements like that. So that was also remarkable. We didn't expect that. We expected to see a trend. We expected to verify our hypotheses, our research questions, so that as we continue to progress with the next studies, but we are showing remarkable results early on. So that's why the next step is to increase the number of participant assays and then to add the control group. We're not going to redo the 12 weeks. We're just going to catch data. And then the intervention study will come after that. But remarkably, to what you just said, BiomeFX and Novonesis, they sponsored for the GI microbial environment and the genomics that were related to that. So in our next also work, we're going to marry the genetics of the soil to the genetics of the human. We definitely need more time with showing differences, but do need to mention that there's more microbes in our human body than there are human cells, if you would. So we really should be paying attention to that. And all
yes, what is it, 100 trillion in our gut, or as compared to only 150 genes in our human genome? There's a lot more genes from the microbes on our body and in our body than our own.
Yeah. But, and those microbes they're responsible for producing nutrients. They do emit things like histamine and sulfur. So getting that balance from the soil to the plant to the digestive system, it's really a big deal, like that. So we have that data beginning to be tracked. And then I think, I'm kind of going over in my head, this kind of takes us to the next pillar, which is agri-health. And that was initiated by Dr. Stefan von Vliet, and he's at Utah State. So when he and I were introduced and we compared, he's got adults with endocrine and overweight obesity, and his work is comparing conventional eating to organic eating, including the farming system. But he didn't have access to some of the lab and diagnostics that we do because, we're in the community and he's on university soil. So the ability to introduce him, and then those scientists from our circle are helping him, and we've just kind of created this way of convergence or collaborating. And in this design, we have some strong brain energy like that.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure to be able to listen to each other and learn from each other.
And now that you have this supportive community, that everyone's passionate about what they're doing and wanting to contribute in their own way, what do you find the current challenges are now? I know that you need to, you want to do a larger scale study. Would you say 100 participants, 200 participants? What is the goal there?
Well, we did for the autism work, we are going to increase it from 36 to 100, and that will give us statistical power to show correlations. So I want to show a relationship, and we have an idea. I get this, like hydration. It's a trend. I can't prove it yet, but hydration was related to behavior like that. They were nicer, like they were less,
simple things.
Simple things, right? So we can create and this is where we'll be partnering and bringing in the possibility of working with community, like moms across America, like American Regeneration. Hey, drink water, it matters. Like that. Can you see getting clean water stations installed in the school system and having people hydrate is a big deal,
And having clean, like you said, filtrated water.
Right. So we don't want to
that. And usually it's the PTA that's having to buy it for the school, and then they have to maintain it. It's not part of the budget. And so many things that...
Well, maybe it could be, like that. And if America was aware, and instead of saying, hey, instead of fighting about it, how do we communicate about it? And how do we make it part of a standard operating procedure? We've all been on Facebook, and you take a look at what, the school lunch program looks like in Italy or Spain or France compared to what our school lunches look like traditionally here. It's just very different. Lunch is more than 12 minutes. They learn manners and etiquette and how to serve each other. And that's part of generating a new culture as well. So we don't have to take it. We can modify it. And I'm proud to be American. We have a voice. And if we voice it, effectively, then we can come together and make a difference. And that's the design of what we created.
Right. And and it, like you said, knowledge is power. And a lot of people, they want the science. We need the science to really help this shift happen, to really push us a different direction. So I think now you're also in a phase of probably needing funding for your study. And I know you have next steps to go to Washington, D.C., but are there ways that also others, like people in the public, can support your efforts?
We have access to our websites, and on our nonprofit website, there's a way to, make a commitment or make a donation. I think something that I'm really proud of is that we started the fund development process, and we didn't just walk into a dinner party and say, get out your checkbook. We actually invited people to come. We did a science session. We did a community roundtable, ask the experts. We did it more than one time in different venues in Iowa. And we listened and we answered. It was kind of like the opportunity for a call to action. How do you see yourself becoming involved? What are your thoughts? And we did in that way. It was a really successful series of events. And now what's happening is people and leadership, executive directors, other universities, other community philanthropic, foundations, everybody's working so hard and we're not getting the results that we want. We want to be part of something where we get to make a difference and see the benefit of it. So I think the marrying of philanthropy and science is a good idea, like that, because this is what it looked like at 0. Here's what it looked like now. Meet Henry. Let him tell you about his opinion about glyphosate. He's already on our Facebook page because his mom said it was okay. And you got to hear Henry talk about why it's not a good idea to eat fast food nation thing. It's incredible. But we do.
Sounds like I have to have him on here to share with everyone else.
That'd be awesome. Anyway, but I think we all have voices and we have to be informed. And so then I think that's part of what we helped each other with. And you still need to listen to the mom. And if anybody takes a look at the impact that this is happening, that this is having on our family systems, if you haven't, then put your glasses on, because it's important for us to understand what our American families are going through.
Yeah, and even it's like you said, the connection of food in Europe, even though what they're going through, the ability to come together as a family over meals and cooking together and sitting together and talking, and in spite of what we all go through and how busy we are in our lives. And I think having all these kinds of discussions have an impact on our quality of life. But definitely a call to action. I could see you on a road trip and going city to city and gathering communities, parent groups, or even groups like Talk About Curing Autism, or ADHD groups, or even just school programs that would benefit from hearing this and coming together. Because I think that ultimately, we all want to eat healthier. I don't think any parent loves to go out and choose processed food for their kids. Or it's like we all want better options, but we just often don't know how, or it seems overwhelming.
And I think making that easier should be part of the instruction, if you would. Let me show you how. We have a fun story about pizza. You want me to make my own pizza? And buying organic ingredients is going to be so expensive. I'm like, not really. Let me show you how. So you go to Costco and you buy the 20 pounds of flour and whatever the dry ingredients are going to amount to. I don't know, $35, $40. Where can you go buy 100 pizzas for $40? Then they stop resisting, right? And then, okay, so let me show you how. It's 4 ingredients to make pizza dough. And it's kind of funny, like when you start making pizza with 10-year-olds, right? Like that. So, so right now we really can't get organic pizza or as lower chemical as possible pizza commercially. You're not going to a pizza parlor regularly to find that. In some places it is emerging. Trader Joe's has an organic pizza, so you can stick that in your freezer, but it may not feed your family sufficiently, so just say that. But, and then when we showed them, and it's not that hard, and it takes as much time to do that as it would be to get in the car, drive to a fast food restaurant, no names needed, right? Like that, wait online, order, come home, or even to DoorDash it. So it just has to be put into simple terms. The idea of snacks, there's no snacks. I'm like, sure there are. And our team of educators, this is all we did. It was like teaching people that there are choices and then eating things that were whole food versus food in a bag or, the kind of, processed fast food.
Bars, chips, crackers, right. Lunchables. Yeah.
And so,
right.
And keep it simple and make it part of your new norm. But there are plenty of communities that are taking that on. And like I know 4-year-olds that eat broccoli and salmon because that's what they were introduced to and they like it, like that. But part of it could be steam the broccoli, put some butter and seasoning on it, not just like a piece of raw broccoli. Like, so right. Moms, how do we adopt like a cooking style that would be more tasty, stuff like that.
Because it's simpler than we think. We just need to see how that happens. And having groups come together with these different options, having that education would be very beneficial as a community. So, perfect. Yeah. Are there any final thoughts overall? I mean, Triada's just got so much going on, and just what would be the takeaway message, do you think, today for everyone listening?
Well, I definitely think that it takes a village. And I think the amount of work that's been accomplished and what the horizon, where we're going, is remarkable. And it's like T for team. Like, no way this could have ever been done independently. So the opportunity to cooperate and to come together as a community is significant like that. So to me, also saying that during COVID, our young people, our 20, 30-year-olds, they're looking, why don't I get this paid time off to take care of myself, my family? What am I going to be feeding my new baby with some of the different formulations and access that we have here? Why can't we do what they're doing overseas? Like, they're just asking questions and they're doing things different. Like, we did different things than our parents did, so can we take the things that were excellent and beyond sufficient and keep them? And then can we learn and adopt and, and transform? So I am proud to be American, and I'm very grateful for what we have in our country. And our neighbors need help. I think coming together, I want to help Iowa. Iowa is a source for food, and then we can help other people. And I want people to copy us. I want them to do what we're doing. My last thing is that RFP with all that data, we're not autism specialists, for the record. You explained what our talent is, and we are applied nutrition biochemistry, and we're helping people. So when those RFPs came through, this is Dr. Richard Fry. We called him because he's an expert, and he's an expert in autism. And we said, we want to share with you about what we found because it's forthcoming. It hasn't been done yet. And if you like us, we'll help you. And if you would rather work within your own team, we'll still give you our data. Like, so the idea of kindness and generosity, integrity like that, we want to make a difference, but we also know our place. So in creating a relationship with Dr. Fry and his colleagues, it was like, we're the autism science drivers and you guys are intervention specialists. So we'll help you now and you can help us later. Like, and that's a lesson from Europe and from other cultures.
Exactly.
Be there for each other. Those are my messages that I think are the lessons that we've learned and that we've drawn off of.
I love that because it sometimes we focus on the negative, especially in the US, everything that's falling apart or being divided, but yet we still have that option to come together as a community, and we have so much room for change and improvement, and it is possible. It's not impossible. It can be done. It's doable. So I love your thoughts on that. So Carla, how can people find you? What is your website? How can they learn to also support Triada World?
Well, I mean, thank you for that. Exactly what you just said, triadaworld.org. And if you go to it, take a look at our board, take a look at the faculty that we've already attracted, and other people want to help us and they want to cooperate with us. And here's our thing, credit where credit's due. Everybody's going to get credit for what's going on here. And in addition, like organizations like MAPS, the Medical Academy Pediatric Spectrum Disorder, they're really interesting and they're interested in what we're doing. And, I just see that we have this ability to, like, again, cooperate together. But the website says a lot. And if you write to us, that would be a way to get in touch with me. I'll call you back and just see about same offer. How do you see yourself participating? Would you like to get involved? We're building teams and we're going to continue to move on because we want to take this beyond autism. We want to take it to the channels that, need paid attention to.
Yeah, maybe we can start a team out here.
I love that idea. I know a few people in Southern California, and it's a really nice place to visit for Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Carla. Thank you for being here today, for sharing this just priceless information for everyone to hear. And hopefully this resonates with so many listeners. So we will be in touch and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love Carla's dedication to addressing toxins in food with a message of hope. And this takes us all the way from the soil to our kitchen with practical steps along the way. I'd love to hear from any of you if you were inspired by this message or feel hope in your own household. Please share in the comments below, or if you're only listening, please head on over to my YouTube channel where we can keep this conversation going. And until next time, be well.